Alright, let's do this again. Dead Rising 2. The game that started my love of this franchise. You see, back when it first released, I didn't know there was a Dead Rising 1. I just played this one at the guy across the street's house in the RV, and I was like, I like this game, so I made my dad buy it, and then he played it, and I watched. I replaying this game, it's alright. It's not the best, but it's also not the worst in the series. I mean, if it was, then 4 must be a masterpiece. But we're not talking about Dead Rising 4, we're talking about Dead Rising 2. So let's talk about the new stuff. Wow. That's the intro I thought of. Anyway, Dead Rising 2 takes place 4 years after the initial outbreak in Willamette, Colorado. Chuck Green and his daughter Katie escape Las Vegas in an outbreak that makes Katie zombie, but not zombie. So we're in Las Vegas now. So you know what happens in Vegas? Gambling. We're in a casino. Let's go. So we have a couple new locations. We have 3 or 4 casinos. I don't know how many. You have the Slot Ranch, which is like a cowboy one. And then you have the Americana Casino, which is like a C one. And then you have the other one. I don't remember the name because they all are kind of the same. And that one's just like another like generic casino. And then there's one on like the Silver Strip. That's like a strip. That's like the Vegas Strip, and it has a bunch of stores in it. I think it's called the Pub of Gold, and it's like a leprechaun kind of thing. There's an SUV in there. Remember the vehicles? But anyway, so now we're in Vegas. So new things that are added. Obviously, money. You can now win money. You can like break the machines or whatever, the ATMs, and they pop out money. So now that you're like, oh, I have money, what can I do with the money? Well, you see those guys over there? They sell things that you could probably just break. You could just probably break into the thing and steal. So Chuck just kind of buys things from these guys, which you know never really happens, other than like the SUV key and the sports car key. So that's a thing that's new. Something else that's new is the combo weapons. Woo! Combo weapons are so useful that I only used like 1 or 2 of them the entire game. The only combo, so the combo cards, how they work is they're like, is Chuck goes into like the maintenance room and he's like, bat, nails, glue them together, and you get a knife bat. Or you know, there's some boxing gloves over there. There's some knives over there. Glue them together. What do you get? Wolverine claws. There's gems and a flashlight, and you get lightsaber. Interesting. There's a lot of interesting combo cards in the game, but none of them are really like useful. Like there's one where you tie like a LMG to a like a stuffed bear, and it's like, yeah, that's cool, but why would I ever use that? Because it's kind of useless. It's a good idea. It's an interesting idea. If they just like expand it on other games, maybe it'll be a good idea. I doubt it because the game quality quickly goes downhill from here. So the combo cards are alright, but just use the knife gloves. Especially how the psychopaths work in this game. Just use the knife gloves. They're right outside the vent. You literally just jump on top of the thing, and there you go. There's the knife. There's the gloves. Put them together. There you go. The psychopaths are all right, I guess. There's not one that is like outstanding, like Adam the Clown. Like I'll always remember Adam the Clown. Leon is kind of a dickhead in the story mode. So we'll get to that when we talk about the story mode. Slappy is kind of just weird looking. The issue I have with some of the psychopaths is that spoiler alert for the story, that is a game that is 12 years old, 13 years old. Holy shit. So Chuck is framed for the outbreak, and some of them like see Chuck and they're like, "Oh, you're Chuck. I'm going to kill you now." But like that doesn't work because you can change Chuck's outfit, and I wore like a ski mask the entire time, like a hockey mask, any sort of mask, and I'm like, how the fuck would they know who I am if they can't see my face? But whatever, who gives a shit? Carl is kind of neat. There's the guy in the one casino, the magician dude. He kind of runs like Naruto, so that's interesting. Just run him down with knife gloves. That's all you gotta do. Bobby Hill, you can tame his tiger. That's interesting. Another thing that I really had an issue with in this game is the time. This game's time limit is longer than the original, and the original Frank's helicopter came in 3 days, and this one, the military arrives in 3 days, but then it gives you an extra day to like do extra shit, and that's not on top of overtime mode, so the game gives you 5 days, which is fine. If you're going to extend the time limit, give me more things to do. There is legitimately a time in the game where there was nothing to do. There was no survivors to save. There was no psychopaths to fight. It was just, I just stood in the security room. And that's what I did for about 20 minutes. Another thing that is all right, I guess, is that they really improved the survivor AI, which my biggest complaints in the first game were the survivor AI was, their brains was cement. There was nothing in their brains. But this time, the survivor AI is way too easy. There is not one time that I was like, oh my god, they're about to die. There was not a survivor that ever dropped below a half health. So they kind of went the opposite direction. They added a little like green like door thing at the bottom, so like you can tell if they're close enough, which is cool. I kind of like that, but everything is just too easy. There's not enough. I saved everyone, and it wasn't very difficult, and I started at level 1. It's not like I started at 50 like the original. So yeah, it was just too easy. If you're going to extend the time limit, okay, that's fine, but just give me more things to do. Another thing that's new in the game is Zombrex. Obviously, at the end of the first game, Frank is bitten. Isabella makes the Zombrex bullshit in overtime mode. So that's a thing that you need to find for your daughter Katie, who needs Zombrex every 24 hours. So you need 4, I think, in the main game. They're actually really easy to find. There's 3 or 4 that are hidden throughout the world. But there's also like psychopaths that give you some Zombrex. There's some survivors that give you Zombrex if you save them. So I think by the end of the game, I had like 4 left. And then also the looters sell Zombrex for 25k each, but every time you buy a Zombrex, the price goes up. I never had to do that ever. I found like 1 extra at the beginning of the game, and then I didn't worry about it the rest of the game. So that's kind of cool, I guess. It makes sense to why Zombrex is a thing in the world, but it's kind of annoying because you have to go back to the safe house to give her the Zombrex, which also makes sense in story context because Katie's just not fucking, like, beside you. So, yeah. Those are my, like, complaints and non-complaints. I did really enjoy the game. I thought it was really cool because I really do like this series, and the only real problems I have was that there was too much time and not enough things to do. And I guess the survivors were too easy. I would like a little bit of challenge. Just not. I was at one point I was escorting like 8 survivors, and I was just scrolling through the TikTok, and I literally had nothing to worry about. You get so many survivors. It's so like beginning heavy. Like they throw in like they just spam. They spam the survivors. I had like 7 at a time each time I went out of the safe house. And then, like, once you get to, like, case 4, case 5, it's nothing. You get, like, 1 or 2 the rest of the way. So, the story is alright. I'm not really making a great case on this game. I actually do really like it. So, let's just get into the story. The story is alright. But it's a good story. It's pretty good. The story opens up 4 years after the initial outbreak in Willamette, Colorado. We meet our protagonist, Chuck Green. He is with his daughter, Katie, which we quickly find out that Katie is bitten and needs Zombrex every 24 hours to not become zombie. Chuck, quickly escaping from Vegas, makes his way onto Terror is Reality, a zombie-killing TV show hosted by Tyrone King, or as the ladies like to call him, TK. We meet this dickhead Leon who talks some shit, a little bit of shit. Chill out, Leon. So the contest starts, and Chuck Green obviously wins because he has main character syndrome. So TK gives Chuck the money. The blue guy is like, I shouldn't have done that. I sold out. And Chuck is like, shut up, dude. We quickly look to the TV where a cure protest is happening, where they are protesting the ethical treatment of zombies, led by Stacy Forsythe. And the news decides they want to talk to average citizens, Mr. and Mrs. Average Citizen. So, shout out to the average citizens out there. You're the people who make the world go round, and keep doing what you're doing. Chuck wants to GTFO and get Katie and leave with his money, but first, the twins from the game show are chatting a little shit and calling Chuck old. Chuck says, whatever, bro, goes on the elevator, and it falls to the ground. Chuck opens the elevator with his bare fucking hands and witnesses the zombie outbreak. Oh no! So Chuck quickly runs to the green room to find Katie hiding in a closet. Uh-oh, boys. Chuck grabs Katie, and they quickly run out of the arena and find that the whole entire place is overran already. It took 20 seconds to get overran. Chuck and Katie make their way into the safe house where they meet Sullivan, who knows that Katie is bit and tells Chuck that Chuck needs to find some Zombrex. Chuck says, okay, bro, I have some, but that is a lie. So Chuck must go out into the mall and get some Zombrex. So Chuck, before he goes out into the mall, he meets Stacy Forsythe, the leader of Cure, the lady that was protesting the zombies, whatever. She's now in the safe house, and she's like, hey, remember Jesse from the first game? I'm Jesse. Here's an earpiece, and here's a map, and I'll talk to you. Bye. So Chuck says, okay, and he goes out into the mall. The mall? This ain't Willamette, stupid. This is a strip mall. So Chuck goes to the pharmacy where Zombrex might be, and he finds looters. Uh-oh, bro. So he kills the looters, gets the Zombrex, heads back to the safe house to give Katie her shot. The first of many. After the shot, Chuck and Stacy are watching some television when Rebecca Chang, Channel 6 Action News, they're, what are the news people called? The anchor people. The anchor man, Rebecca Chang, says it was Chuck Green who started the outbreak. Chuck is like, what? Stacy's like, what? And now we have to find Rebecca because Chuck is being framed. So we go to the hotel where Rebecca is just standing in the middle of zombies, just casually. And she's like, okay, follow me to the security room, not the one in the safe house, a different security room where they find everything broken. Chuck is like, well, damn it. And they go back to the safe house. Chuck goes back to the safe house because Sullivan is out here throwing out accusations because he saw what happened on TV. And Sullivan is like, yeah, it was on TV. That means it happens. But my question is, that Sullivan was threatening to throw like Katie and Stacy and Chuck out. But a couple of hours earlier, I fought Ted, the Bobby Hill guy, and I tamed his tiger. And the tiger is just sitting beside Katie because I gave it to her as a gift. So what is Sullivan gonna do? There's a fucking tiger in the room. Is he gonna throw the tiger out too? Anyway, that's not canon. Stacy sees that TK and his guys are moving some stuff on a train. Chuck goes investigates, and the worst part of the game happens. The train chase. I swear to God, every time you catch up to the train just puts on its nitro boosters and it zooms away. Oh, it was awful. So 15 minutes after chasing the train, Chuck finally jumps on the train. TK is like, ha, you fool, you won't get me, and just releases the train. But the train just goes around in a circle as I chased it for 15 minutes. So where does TK go? Where does he lets the train go? Where does he go? Because it's just a circle. So after that, Katie gets her second dose of Zombrex. And then Stacy is like, oh my god, TK is now trying to rob the banks. The bank vaults of the casinos. So Chuck goes out, destroys the drills with his bare fucking hands, and then defeats the van. Why do you fight the van? I don't know. I didn't pay attention to that part. So TK gets mad. TK is like, oh, you son of a bitch. Rebecca shows up out of fucking nowhere. And she's like, I'll tell you who sent the video in. Just come in and meet me at this nightclub fucking 2 days from now. So after a little bit of waiting in the nightclub, the time limit says that I can now progress. And Chuck meets the source. It's the twins. Remember? From the beginning? You don't remember? Well, it's them. And Chuck kills one. I forget which one I killed. Or, I'm sorry, I forget which one Chuck kills. And the other one's like, I'm sad now, and kills herself. So Chuck saves Rebecca. And Rebecca is like, yo, TK's gonna, he's got a helicopter. Meet me on the safe house roof. So we can watch out for when he leaves, because obviously it's a video game and TK's not gonna take off right away. He's gonna wait until we get there. So let's do that. Chuck says okay, and that's exactly what they do. But before that, we have a third Zombrex break, and we're just chilling, waiting in the security room until 7 a.m. And then we find out, we get some character development from Stacy, who's like, yeah, my sister used to take Zombrex. And Chuck is like, used to? Chuck, that means her sister is dead, which Stacy quickly tells us. And he's like, oh, my bad. So, rip Stacy's sister. You'll be missed. So Chuck and Rebecca see the chopper taking off. Chuck hightails it to the roof of the hotel, where he then fights the chopper. Yes, you heard that correctly. There is a boss fight with the helicopter. You literally throw the shit on the helipad into the helicopter. Yeah, it's a fight that takes place. So we destroy the helicopter. We take TK back to the safe house. Sullivan is like, I'm gonna kill him. And then Chuck is like, no, we can't kill him yet because plot purposes. We give Katie the 4th Zombrex, and the military is here. Woo, to save us, because that worked so well in the first one. Stinky fart gas comes out of the what are the things called? The vents? The grates. That's what they're called. It comes out of the grates, and it super duper goes into the zombies, and they become super duper zombies, which is fun. All the military dies, and their sergeant guy is like, oh no. And Rebecca is here again for no reason. Rebecca goes into the glass and follows the military guy. So Chuck brings Rebecca back to the safe house. TK tells Chuck that he framed him because the script told him to, and that someone needed to be framed, so he chose Chuck. Whatever. Sullivan looks hella sus right now. And then the crew go back to the security room and talk about, oh my god, there's zombies in the safe house! Somehow, there's zombies in the safe house, so Chuck has to fix the safe house. Sullivan is like, oh, TK knocked me out. Oh, by the way, TK is now bitten, so he has to get Zombrex. Sullivan says, oh no, TK knocked me out. And then we give TK Zombrex, and then Sullivan tells the crew that about the firebombing, because for some reason the government is like, oh, the 5 guys we sent died? Well, I guess there's none left, so let's just blow everything up. Whatever. So Rebecca then tells Chuck to go underground. Chuck then does listen to Rebecca and goes underground and finds like a big cylinder-looking thing that's attracting zombies into the thing to attract their queens. For evil reasons, obviously. He finds 2 lab coat guys. He kills the 2 lab coat guys in cold blood, because they are not important. And they are not the main character. So Chuck realizes it's Phenotrans who started the outbreak. Who is Phenotrans? Well, they make Zombrex. What? We'll talk about that a little bit later. And then Chuck goes back to the safe house to say what he found. And then, oh my goodness, the best twist ever happens. Sullivan turns out to be the bad guy and tells them that they were supposed to die in the outbreak? Okay, I've been holding this information back poorly for a little bit. If Sullivan was the bad guy, it's understandably that he wanted to kill TK back whenever Chuck brought him back after the helicopter fight, because I would assume that Phenotrans hired TK to frame somebody, because that's what he says at the end, at the last boss fight. You go fight Sullivan after this, by the way. That's the ending of the game, ending A, I guess, if you don't give TK Zombrex. That's the end. But if Sullivan hired, or Phenotrans hired TK to start the outbreak, and Chuck and everyone were supposed to die, then why the fuck did he let people into the safe house? Why did he let Chuck into the safe house? Why did he open the safe house in the first place. Yeah, you could have been like, oh, well, he opened the safe house, and then, like, Chuck just happened to come in. But why did he let anyone in the safe house anyway? They would have all died in the initial outbreak. So, like, this plan doesn't make sense. Because the one person that stops Sullivan, he could have killed at the beginning of the game. And yeah, if you wouldn't have done it, the game wouldn't have happened. Shut up! That doesn't make sense. He let Chuck, Stacy, Katie, a fucking tiger. I know the tiger isn't canon, but like, what? Why did he let them in? That doesn't make any sense. So Chuck goes and fights Sullivan. Sullivan says the outbreak was like, oh, we need the queens to make the Zombrex, because I don't know if like Isabella, because he blames Isabella in the first one, but like Isabella came off to me as like not a terrorist and like wasn't a dickhead and actually like was saddened by Santa Cabeza and like legitimately wanted to help Frank make like the Zombrex, obviously. So like, how many queens does it take to make one Zombrex? Because in the original overtime mode, Isabella needed 10 queens to make one, right? Or the glow stick or whatever that they used to escape. So how many queens does it take? Does it only take one queen to make one Zombrex? Because, like, yeah, you have to infect people to get their queen or whatever. This plot just seems dumb to me. Maybe it's just my stupid brain is just dumb, but it's kind of just stupid to me. But I do like this cutscene. This is a good cutscene. But yeah, so sorry. I will fix it for Dead Rising 3. So after we kill Sullivan, his body gets chopped in half somehow, whatever. And now overtime mode starts. This time it's TK, and he wants us to collect these random objects. And so we do. We fight TK. He puts Stacy and Katie in like a rope thing, and he's like lowering them down into zombies, and we pull them up. It's actually a pretty cool fight. He gets rid of all your items, so you have to go in there with your fist. And that's Dead Rising 2. And that's the story. It's alright. It's a story. I played this so many times that I like knew all this shit, just like the first one. Dead Rising 3, I didn't care as much about. I did care about it. I was really like excited for it when it first launched, but I didn't have an Xbox One back in 2013 because I was in 7th grade. But I know that the series quickly falls after that. I appreciate all of the greatness in that first video. It has about like 230 views, I think, last time I checked, and it has like 15 likes. So my best performing video, obviously. So shout out to everyone who liked that video. And I'll probably stream like Dead Rising 3. I'll probably stream that shit. So if you want to watch me play Dead Rising 3, go to Twitch. The link is in the description if you want to click on that shit. And I appreciate everyone watching this video. So I have no more else to talk about, so goodbye.